So, what do you think's wrong with Kyle this week?
Uh, he's chronically tired.
Fair. I mean,
Yeah,
I get that. Like,
he works too much.
ugh. I get that a lot too.
Yeah, and like, okay, I'm gonna be 100% with Kyle if you're listening. Um, ask for a raise or don't work as many hours.
Yeah.
That's my opinion because like companies become complacent with employees like Kyle who just do a bunch of work for not that much extra pay. Like it happened to me at Walmart where I actually like I was apparently a really good employee simply because I showed up and did my job. Like a lot of people just don't do that. Apparently a lot of people just show up and like fuck around or just don't really do what they're supposed to do.
They fuck around and find out.
Well, like there were some people who showed up late, but we were so understaffed that we couldn't fire them, and they found that out. So they would show up like 2 to 3 hours after their shift started and still not get in trouble.
Yeah, that's kind of bad.
Yeah. Now I
Kind
don't
of
miss
fucks
working.
everyone else over.
hmm Especially when there's only like one other person working in Frozen with me, and Frank, awesome guy. I'm gonna call him Frank, but he was like 65, so like he could do what he could do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think everybody deserves a raise. The cost of living's way too fucking high for what businesses pay.
Yeah, but this
But
isn't the financial
yeah, this
crisis
isn't the financial
podcast.
crisis podcast. This is the gaming podcast. This is what you don't come here for.
Yeah.
So, let's get into the actual podcast.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Ryan, or Release Radar on YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of the Joystick Junkies podcast. Today I have with me, and only with me, Caleb.
What up? What up? I'm the editor-in-chief of an extraordinary life.online, and yeah.
Yeah, and this week's honestly been pretty dead for news. We were talking about it before we started recording, and it's just because all these big showcases are coming up. And like we have had the Consumer Electronics Expo or something like that. Like LTT was at something this week where they showed some new some new
in
technology.
Taiwan.
Yeah. Did you see that giant 4090? Like instead of it being like a 3 slot, like it's like a 4 slot cooler. It's massive.
I didn't see that, but I saw NVIDIA's new CPU
Oh yeah.
for the data
NVIDIA's
centers.
working on data center CPUs, yeah, and they're massive. They're like the size of a piece of toast or something. Like they're huge.
Yeah.
But I
And
just
then
wanted to go ahead.
Framework has a new thing coming out with Cooler Master
Yeah.
to whenever you upgrade your board, you can put it into an external case. That
Your
way
old
you can
board.
just make it into like a small form factor PC.
Yeah, and the thing is like super thin too. And
Yeah.
it has mounting points where you could like vase mount it to the back of a monitor,
Yeah.
and like you
Turn
could
it
just
into an
have your
all-in-one.
computer. Yeah, like an all-in-one experience, which would be really cool. Like I think
Yeah.
for like restaurants and stuff, something like that would actually make a lot of sense because they could just, instead of having like the integrated, like if you're a local owned business, you could just have a little framework laptop on the back of a monitor, and then you can use that to run your transactions and stuff. I don't know how expensive it's going to be though.
Well, so the case, it's mostly for people who already own a framework.
Yeah.
Whenever they upgrade, they can either sell their laptop, or if they want to keep it, then they can put it in this case and just use it around the house or use it for whatever they have. I don't think it's going to be a viable option to just replace outright PCs, because I mean, if you look at Chromebooks or even Intel Nooks, it might not be like competitive with those price points.
I mean, yeah, but I don't think it's trying to compete with Chromebooks, right? Framework isn't trying to be the next school laptop.
They do have Chromebooks though.
Framebook or Framebooks? Is that what they're called?
Framebook has Chromebooks. Yeah.
Well, that would be a cool product name for their Framebook.
Chromebook,
I don't know,
yeah.
it kind of rolls off the tongue.
but no,
like
yeah, Framework
Chromebooks-
has Chromebooks. They're like $1,000 now though. But at
Dude,
that
I
point,
had a
what's the
Chromebook when I
point?
first started going to college. It was a 2017 Acer Chromebook or something like that. And like they feel really cheap because, if you get a cheap Chromebook, you're going to get what you pay for, right? They're not
Well, I mean, mine is I don't even know when it came out, but it's a Samsung Chromebook, full metal chassis. I got it for 80
Mine was
bucks.
plastic.
Yeah, full metal
It was
chassis. I
bad.
got it for 80 bucks. Like, it was great.
Yeah, but it's great for students though, because like when everything went full lockdown, some schools like gave their students Chromebooks because they're so freaking cheap. You can get them so freaking cheap, right? So you can
Yeah.
probably. You think there's like a discount as well if you buy like bulk order for
Oh,
like
I'm
an entire
sure.
school? Yeah. So like if you buy, I don't know how many students typically attend like an elementary school, maybe like 500 or something, like 500 Chromebooks. Like you could probably get a huge discount, and it's perfect for students because like I think they have games on them now, but they used to really not have games. Like when I had mine, you could not put Steam on it. You could not download Android apps on it. You kind of just got Chrome. But
Well,
I believe
it
the
still
Google Play
has the
Store
Google
has
Play
Chrome.
Store. Yeah.
Well, I had mine before because there was a time where the Google Play Store was not on all Chromebooks. Like the Google Play Store was not on my Chromebook when I first got it. It was an update a couple months after I picked it up.
Interesting. Well, the bad thing about Chromebooks is they only get software support for so long
Yeah.
after they come out, and it's not after you purchase it, it's after it left the assembly line. So if it's been sitting on a store shelf for 3 years and it has a 5-year shelf life, then you can only use that Chromebook for 2 years before it can't do anything anymore. So it's
I
like,
didn't know that.
what's the point?
Does it become completely obsolete, or could you still you could still use it, right? Because that's like
I
a
think
massive e-waste problem.
I think they were able to. So if you're in an official capacity, like it's for a school, for instance, for
Yeah.
security reasons, you shouldn't use it after there are no updates.
Yeah,
For a
that's true.
personal computer, then it's fine.
Yeah.
But for a school application where you have like encrypted sites or encrypted apps, things like that, you shouldn't be using it
Yeah,
after
that
the
makes
security
sense.
updates are gone, which means all of those schools bought all of those Chromebooks, and perfectly good ones that students took care of are having to be e-waste now.
Yeah, no, that's wild. Then that's kind of why I like the company that Linus is working with, Framework, because like they're trying to solve that e-waste problem. Because like right now, I have a gaming laptop that is going to vastly depreciate in performance and value over the next like 2-3 years. It's got a 3080 laptop GPU in it, 32 gigs of RAM, and an i7-11800H or whatever the hell Intel calls their CPUs. But it's like a good laptop now. But the problem is, when it starts to slow down and show its age, the only thing I can really easily replace is the RAM and the SSD. Everything else, like it's kind of just soldered on, right?
And even then, the RAM is extremely limited to whatever the motherboard can hold.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't, like, if it's only rated, like, let's say it only has 2 RAM slots, but it's only rated for a maximum of 16 gigs, you can't exceed that.
Yeah, and
It's
mine's
not
at
like a
32.
desktop.
I don't know if I could get it up to 64 because I know 32 works because that's what my laptop shipped with.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's concerning to me because like whenever I buy a graphics card or build a computer and like a couple years go by and there's something new that comes out, I usually sell my old system. Like the 2080 Super that you have was my 2080 Super that I bought new in box a couple years ago.
You mean the 2080 Super I had?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
This
But
this poor
oh, it's out of your system now. Okay, hold on.
2080 Super.
But basically, my whole point is like I like to sell tech rather than tossing it when I don't need it anymore, or like waiting until it like super slows down. Like I had a Chromebook that I sold because I didn't need it anymore, and like I'm kind of thinking about maybe selling my laptop, but I don't know because like I still like to have that portability as somebody who goes home for like holidays and stuff because I'm away
Yeah.
for college. But at the same time, I have a Steam Deck and I'm getting an ROG Ally. So, like, do I even need to bring the laptop with me? Like, the ROG Ally is going to crush a lot more games than the Steam Deck can. And, like,
There's
I
no
know I
stripping
could put
hands.
Windows on the Steam Deck. Like, I know that's technically possible, but I just don't want to.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, you have the ROG Ally coming in. So
Yeah, it comes in like a week,
sweet.
10 days. Actually, no, 9 days at this point because it's the 4th. I'm excited.
I can't wait to start seeing the content on that. But yeah,
Yeah. But
as
what
far
happened to
as
the graphics
e-waste
card?
goes, well, hold on. As far as e-waste goes, as you guys like to lovingly call her, Miss Amber, keeps fucking with me with the amount of computers that I have. So I have, my workstation, my server, the emulation PC in the front, which is turning into not a workbench, a test bench these days. And whenever I upgrade my workstation, we're building hers in the bedroom because she just prefers to play video games sitting up in bed. Um,
It's comfortable.
but it's very comfortable.
Yeah.
Um, so like I always upcycle. Like I don't get rid of the hardware, but we find uses for it. Like the living room emulation PC is used whenever nieces and nephews come over to play old games that I have. Like some of the old like Lego games that I have in my Steam account. They just play on the front TV,
Yeah.
just like family friendly stuff.
Yeah.
And but unfortunately, the workstation upgrade is being slowed down by this. So I've been finding it weird that I've been underutilizing it by like whenever I render video, it would only use like 30%, which I thought was really freaking weird for it to
What?
only pull 30% of this. Come to find out it's actually Vegas. But it should still be using more than 30% of the card's power. But one day I was just watching the podcast, getting all of the timestamps ready to make the chapters on the channel. And I was like, you know what? While I listen to this, let me put on beam.ng. I know I put this in the group chat because I was like, dude, the whole thing just crashed. And then Kyle was like, oh, that's just beam.ng. Like, it just does that.
I remember reading that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was not just beam.ng. What happened was, despite beam.ng recognizing the graphics card as a dedicated GPU, it also happened with Call of Duty. It also happened with a few, I think, Severed Steel as well. Even with all these games recognizing this is where the data should go, it dumped it all to the i7 9700K and then overheated the chip, and the whole system just crashed in an instant.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... And the weird thing is, we put it under a stability stress test and hit it with 100% load for 15 minutes. No issue. 20 minutes. No issue. Didn't crash. But for some reason, it's not receiving game files. Popped in my 980 Ti again after like 6 months, 7 months. Worked like that. No issue.
And you've refreshed the drivers on the card.
So I've pulled the drivers. I've uninstalled them through Windows.
Okay.
I've uninstalled them in safe mode using the utility Kyle sent me. I've reinstalled them through NVIDIA with a clean install. Nothing at all.
But have you tried the thing that I mentioned earlier, which was plugging it into a system that does not have an iGPU on the CPU?
None of my systems don't have an iGPU on the CPU.
Damn.
Like I said, the only one that might not is the server. And that's just because it disables the iGPU the moment it detects something in a PCI slot. And I can't take my server down for that long.
Yeah.
But I am going to be using it in the emulation PC to see if it's maybe just the Windows image. But I don't know why it would be the Windows image if the 980 Ti works the moment I put it in.
I think the answer to that question is just Windows. If that is, it's just Windows being
Dude.
Windows.
That would, oh my god, because I've started looking into like comparable cards, right? And I think I've settled on one because Magic's Vegas Pro uses or prefers AMD render cores.
You going Team Red?
You know, I'm thinking of going the 7900 XTX.
Interesting. Okay. I saw you sent like a whiteout one in the group chat.
Yeah. So, because my PC's everything's white out with the exception of the card.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that would be cool. You're going to be one of few people using a lot of people go full Team Red or they use Team Blue for the CPU and green for the GPU. I don't know that many builds that are Intel CPU with AMD graphics card.
Well, so remember how I said I was going to be upgrading my workstation? It was originally going to be upgraded to Ryzen 7 7900X or 7600X. Yeah.
Okay.
64 gigs of RAM, like a full like actual workstation upgrade versus just a gaming computer upgrade. But with the GPU dying and the 980 Ti being as old as it is, that kind of has to come first because the hardware that I have in here now, the i9 or i7 9700K and the RAM that I have and everything, it works fine. But if I lose the GPU, we lose the ability to render. So I need to make sure that's okay before I replace things that are totally fine, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Dude,
but it
so
eventually
weird.
will be completely Team Red. But the actual board, CPU and RAM upgrade has to slow its roll for a little bit. Like, yeah.
That's cool though. No, and like
Well, it's cool until you see the amount of money that all of it costs. Because good God.
Yeah, no, trust me. I always get shit from Kyle for upgrading my GPU almost every generation. But
why would you do that?
The reason that I do that is because I sell the previous gen GPU. Because think about it this way: the longer I held on to a 4090, 3, 4, 5 years into the future, it's just going to go lower and lower and lower and lower and lower in resale value.
True.
So what I do is resell it when the next generation comes out. So resale value is not as high as if it was like the current gen, but it's still pretty up there, right? And then I can use that money and put it towards a new GPU. And I've been doing that since the 1080 to the 2080 Super to the 3090 to the 4090. Like I've been selling the current GPU to buy the new GPU. And that's the only reason I can afford the new GPU is because I sell the one that I have, right?
Yeah.
I did not have the money for a 4090 kicking around until I sold the 3090.
I mean, fair. $2,000 graphics is not something to scoff at, but like,
and then it got stolen from Kyle.
Then it got stolen from But my GPU trail is kind of interesting. So I had a 980 Ti that I got for free.
That's cool.
A 970 that I got for free. Because
why are you getting all these free GPUs?
So a buddy of mine upgraded to, I think it was a 1080 Ti at the time. He just put his old parts in a box under his carport, and it was sitting up in a box for like 3 months.
I remember you telling me about this. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just chilling, just chilling under the carport. Just it wasn't getting wet, nothing at all. Just the motherboard, the CPU, the RAM, the GPUs, everything was just chilling out there. So I was like, do you want to get rid of it? He's like, yeah, come take it. And then just got it for free. And that's then I scrapped a buddy's old PC because it had a bad board. It wasn't able to hold drivers. So anytime I launched it outside of safe mode, the whole system would blue screen. So from there, I got, as Masab lovingly puts it, the official graphics card of Pakistan, the 750 Ti, because this is the most common graphics card in Pakistan, apparently. And then I bought the 2080 Super from Kyle whenever he bought your 3090.
And he also bought the 2080 Super for me as well.
Yeah. And then most recently, I got a 1050 Ti from a guy that's... this is a funny story, too. We're kind of going on a tech support tangent, but there's really nothing in the news, so
yeah,
indulge us. So I went to go and help a guy that helped us with repairing or like drilling into a safe for work.
Okay.
So we start talking. He says he plays games with his kids as a way to like grow closer to them, because he used to constantly, I wouldn't say like berate his son, but like, hey, you need to go out, you need to make friends, stop playing video games, you're wasting your life. The thing all dads do that don't play video games,
Yeah.
And he said as he grew older and he saw how common it was, he realized it was too late, and like his son already resented him for it. So he tried to get into gaming to grow closer to his son. So, he bought a computer, but recently, within the last year or so, all he said was that it stopped working. Didn't give me any further details. He said he had
sounds like my grandparents. Computer broke, come fix it, and they just plugged their HDMI into the motherboard instead of the graphics card. Like, bruh.
Right? Like he had an IT guy come from a local power company. Once again, couldn't remember the power company, but he's like, he said the IT guy told him that the motherboard was dead. Motherboard was fried. You just get a whole new. I recommend this part, this part, this part, and this part.
Yeah.
It was an i7 7600K. And an Asus Prime motherboard. So the new part sat there for a year. A year before, because he was just waiting for the guy to come back and fix it. The guy said he would come back and he just never did. So whenever he came to help with the safe, we were talking about it, and I was like, oh, I can come do that for you. That's like an hour tops. Especially if you still have your old operating system, that'll take no time at all. So, I help him, and he's telling me, all of the stuff this guy did. And I'm like, I'm really starting to doubt that he knew, because I know the guy didn't know, much about computers. He just knows, it can play games, which there's nothing wrong with, but he already bought all the hardware. So I was like, okay, let me just install it. Not even going to try and run tech support right now. So we install everything, get him back up and running. And I asked him what he's going to do with the old hardware. He's like, I'm probably just going to throw it away. I'm like, well, I'm making this like art wall with PCBs of different types of machines that I've worked on. And I'm looking for more actual computer motherboards. He's like, yeah, go ahead, take them. So he gave me a 1050 Ti, 2 motherboards, 2 chips, 2 sticks of RAM. Literally pulled up the CPU. The thermal paste was ash. Whoa. It had been there for so long, and it had dried out.
Crazy.
That it had burned up
before.
I think I sent a picture to the group text, but I cleaned it off, applied new thermal paste, popped it in a case with a power supply, and booted it up, put it under load, 100% load, 30 minutes, no crashes.
So
perfectly fine. Yeah.
That's wild.
So, that's my new test bench to figure out this 2080 Super issue.
Okay, yeah. So, like for me, my graphics card journey, my first PC was a pre-built Acer Predator from Amazon. It was $1,200, and it had a i7 4770, not the 4070-70K, just normal 4770. 12 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM.
My 4790 just died. But
47
continue. My 4790K, the Intel chip,
Okay.
it just died. That's what led to this whole emulation PC. Crapping the bed.
It had a 1 terabyte hard drive, 12 gigs of DDR3 RAM, and a GTX 760. So, and this was like 2013. So those were decent parts for the time.
Yeah.
It was like last gen, because was there an
8? I don't think there was an 800.
They were from 7 to 9. Yeah. So by then the 9 series had just come out. So the 7 was just the series prior, and it was a Christmas gift from my dad, because I could get an Xbox or a PlayStation, like Xbox One, PS4, or I could get into PC gaming. And Kyle was like, "You should just get a PC, dude. You just play PC, man. It's so much better." I'm like, "You know what? Fine." And I was so bad. It's the complete other way around for me now, but I was so bad with keyboard and mouse that I would play all of our games together with controller. So like when we played Fear 3 on PC, I played with controller because I did not know how to aim with keyboard and mouse. Now I don't know how to aim with controller because that was 10 years ago. But so 760 Ti, and then Kyle came over to help me with some like maintenance. We moved all of the parts out of the crappy pre-built case, got a new motherboard, and because that motherboard, it was back when a lot of pre-built companies used proprietary motherboards.
They still do.
They still do for pre-built gaming PCs?
Dell, Alienware, Acer. Yeah. I think Asus is stepping away from it because they obviously make their own motherboards. Yeah. But and then a lot of the like boutique shops just use random parts off the shelf. So but yeah, the normal system integrators like Dell, HP, everything like that, they mostly use their own proprietary shit.
Yeah, and because that board was proprietary, we obviously couldn't reuse it in the new case because like the screw holes didn't line up, and you had to like use a specific weird kind of power supply with weird connections.
Yeah.
So I got a new case, motherboard, and power supply, and we plugged everything in. And I just wanted my PC to look better and also have better cooling because some of those pre-builds do not have any ventilation for airflow whatsoever. And Kyle came over, helped me move all the parts, and we turned the system on, and we just saw come out of my graphics card. Actually, no, I'm wrong. The 760 worked, and then we upgraded to a 970. Yeah, so I upgraded my GPU to a 970 at some point along the way as well after putting all the parts in this case. And the 970 is what went, because he came over to just look at something, because my computer, I had the 970 in it for like a year and a half, and then something started to mess up, so he came over to look at it. And I remember we took it downstairs into my kitchen, plugged it in, and he hit the power button, and we just all come out of the 970.
I've fried a laptop before.
Whole laptop?
Yeah, so I was doing some repairs and I couldn't figure out why. It was already like shit. It was essentially doing the same thing that my 2080 Super did, where it would overheat and the whole thing would crash. But the weird thing is it would boot right back up, so it would just throw itself into a boot loop for a little while, and then whenever it cooled itself down, then it would stay stable. Okay. But I was trying to figure out if the fans were spinning. So, the magnetic tip on my screwdriver failed while the back cover was off.
Ooh.
And all of a sudden you just hear.
And you could smell it, right? Like
there was a little flame. There was an actual flame coming from the board. And I was like, okay. Nope.
Yeah. But so we still, to this day, Kyle.
Don't do that, kids.
We don't know what happened because we didn't do anything like that, and there was no weird connections touching each other. Everything was plugged. Like, I trust Kyle. Like, he knows what he's doing. Like, he's messed with a lot of computers, and we don't know what happened. We just plugged in the graphics card and it went, and I still have that card.
Which one is it? Is it the
970? Here, I'll go grab it. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, because man, I've seen some crazy shit with computers. But so obviously he stepped away. So
I'm back.
All right, cool.
This is the card.
EVGA.
Yeah, it's an EVGA 970. One of these things at the back just is fried.
Damn. See,
And
you
we
just
don't-
hang that up as a badge of honor on the wall. The first PC failure.
Yeah, no, I've been thinking about having it as like set dressing for my tech videos because I have that little table right there where I've been filming content with the top-down camera and stuff, and so I'm thinking about I have Kyle's old Radeon Sapphire, something like RX 5900 or something like that, and then I also have a random like 750 Ti. I don't even know where that came from. I think Nick gave it to me. But back on track, my graphics cards journey was 760 in a pre-build to the 970, which I still have, that went to a 1080, which I honestly don't remember what happened to the 1080. I sold it to somebody. I might have sold it to somebody on Facebook Marketplace. And then I got a 2080 Super, which he has now, and then 3090 and then 4090. And that's my GPU journey.
Yeah, 3090 is probably in a police lockup somewhere.
Which sucks because that computer still works, and I don't know if he's ever going to see it again.
Yeah.
It's, I don't want to get into details about that, but it's like so incredibly stupid. If it belonged to him and it was stolen, why can't he just have it back? Like, it's his.
I don't think they can prove it, though. That's the problem. I mean,
This is
to be
why-
completely honest, like, there are ways to prove it if you know about technology, but
like the serial ID or whatever. Like, if he had well, I think he has the box. Wouldn't that information be in documentation in the box?
Possibly.
I should text him about that, but he's maybe already thought about it. But like for me, I have a lot of fancy stuff, and I do setup tours quite often.
Yeah.
And there's two reasons why I do it. One, if anything is stolen or insurance, like something burns down, like I have like the insurance guy is like, "Are you sure you had a computer with a 49?" Like, yeah, here's a video. Like, I had that. But another reason why is I just think it's fun to talk about my setup because my setup changes a lot. I like to add like new things. Like one of the most recent changes I made was having little guys, little plants, you know?
I can't wait to see the Lego ones when they come out.
Oh yeah, when we're done with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chloe's coming over tomorrow. We're building them tomorrow. So we're going to see how that goes. We're going to watch The Office. I'm being forced to watch The Office.
Hey. The Office is a work of fucking art, sir.
I think it's that funny. I think Michael Scott is so incredibly socially awkward, and it's so hard.
That's what makes it funny.
But
because
what if
he's
you
so
don't find it funny.
I'm upset with you. Let me guess. You find Friends funny?
No.
Oh, okay. Then you're excused. As long as you don't find
I've seen
Friends
like
funny.
8 episodes of Friends. I've never watched the whole show. I like that 70s show. That was
If you watch it without laugh tracks, it is sad as shit.
Dude, there's a YouTuber that I watch. His name's Drew Gooden, and he did a video about laugh tracks in shows. And it's like, I have never had a conversation with another human being where I say something that's kind of funny, pause for 10 seconds, and then continue the conversation.
Right?
It's so unnatural. And like, I don't know if these shows are actually filmed in front of a live audience. Like some of them say they are. I doubt they are. Or when they say live audience, that could just be like 3 people in the background, and technically that's not lying. That is a live audience, right?
Pretty much.
And then you could just add a laugh track and post. But like my thing is, and it's something Drew Gooden brought up in his video, is like a lot of these laugh tracks don't follow how, like, there's different levels of funny, but when every joke has the same reaction, like it was the funniest thing the audience has ever heard, some jokes
kind of
miss.
loses its
Yeah, like a joke misses, but then you hear the audience just absolutely crack. There was a fruit fly in my room. But you hear the audience absolutely cracking up, and you're just like, okay, well, it was kind of funny, Joey, I guess. Like, I don't think it deserved like a standing ovation like you're getting from the audience, but
yeah. So to go back to proprietary bullshit that OEMs put forth, please tell me you've heard, because I'm sure with your as my sister likes to call it, bougie attitude towards PC hardware, that you've wanted at one point a Threadripper.
No.
You've never wanted a Threadripper once in your life.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so the joke kind of fails there. But the Threadripper Pro, the latest generation of Threadrippers,
isn't AMD abandoning Threadripper?
So they're abandoning the consumer Threadripper.
Okay.
They're not abandoning professional workstation Threadrippers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But they had an exclusivity deal with Lenovo. But here's the fun part. Lenovo locked them to the Lenovo system. So you couldn't buy a Lenovo workstation, pull the CPU out, and change systems with it. It was permanently locked to that motherboard, whether you liked it or not.
Scummy. That's so scummy. Because like if the board fails but the CPU survives, can you buy a replacement specific Lenovo board, or is it tied with the specific board it ships with?
So it's a feature, according to this write-up by Tom's Hardware. Serve the Home has just confirmed that Lenovo is fully utilizing AMD's platform secure boot in its server and workstation pre-built machines. This feature locks AMD's Ryzen Pro and Threadripper Pro and EPYC processors out from being used in other systems in an effort to reduce CPU theft. More specifically, this feature effectively cancels out a CPU's ability to be used in another motherboard, or at least a motherboard not from the original OEM. So it can only be used in Lenovo boards.
So they're saying it's to reduce CPU theft?
Correct. If a thief wanted to steal these chips, they would have to hack the PSB hardware and firmware to get the chip functioning in other hardware. But that's a super difficult thing to do. AMD's platform secure boot runs on a 32-bit AMD secure ARM SoC within its own operating system, or with its own operating system. So the hardware isolation is a whole nother layer.
So, but then the thief would just steal the CPU with the board.
Yeah.
Oh no, they have to steal a whole other thing. They're already stealing something in the first place. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's like the whole conversation, I don't want to get political, but it's like gun control. Like, oh no, if you make guns illegal, it's not like a criminal's not going to break the law to get one. Like it's completely redundant. So like they're just going to steal the motherboard too.
What thief do you know will break into a home just to steal a CPU, not the motherboard? Just to I'm going to take the time to take this cooler off the motherboard, unseat it, pull the chip, and walk out. Like, I already have a motherboard for the Ryzen Threadripper Pro. Like fuck that. Like, I'm good.
It would be faster for them to just come and grab entire PC and leave, not come in, get a screwdriver, make sure everything's unplugged, and they want to make sure the CPU survives, right? So they're not going to like unplug anything while the board's powered on.
Yeah.
And they're going to put it on a table. They're going to unscrew it. They're going to take off the cooler, but for my PC, since my GPU is vertical mounted, you would have to get the GPU out first, and then you could get to the cooler, and then you could get to the CPU. And by the time you get to the CPU, the cops are there because I got cameras in my apartment. Like, there's doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, just run in, power it off, pull all the cables, and run. Like, it's just I don't get there.
PSA, don't steal stuff. All right.
Yes,
work
please.
For your thing.
Don't steal anything. This is not you should go steal stuff. No, we are not the steal stuff podcast.
Yeah, no. Dude, that's so wild, though.
Even though emulation is not stealing. Pirating is stealing, but emulation is not stealing. Emulation is using software you own on hardware you own that may not be the original intended hardware.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to talk about me actually buying a Switch OLED now, even though I said I wasn't going to?
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
speaking of which, PSP Go, before I forget.
I haven't heard anything back. I messaged. So the context of this is I found a PSP Go for $15 on Facebook Marketplace, and I messaged the guy like, hey, can you send pictures and prove that it still works? And he read the message but never responded, which means since it was $15, it probably doesn't work.
Probably not.
But he didn't specify that.
Yeah.
So that's like whenever I buy a monitor, like I found an ultra-wide monitor for like $90, and my grandparents keep talking about how they want one because they've seen my ultra-wide monitor. And my grandma's like,
it's great.
I want one of those big screens. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to get you a 1080p ultra-wide because, you said you couldn't read the text on mine, and mine's 1440p ultra-wide. So we're going to get you a 1080p ultra-wide. And I found one on Facebook Marketplace for $90, and I asked the dude for pictures of it powered on, and he kept saying like, well, no, I can't plug it in. I've already unplugged it. Like, I can't just plug it back in. I'm like, dude, if you're not going to send me pictures of the screen powered on,
we're not buying it.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. And then he got mad at me. I got cussed out by this dude on Facebook Messenger. He's like, how fucking dare you accuse me? Like, just plug it in. All I want to know
Plug
is
it in, plug it in.
And then, like, the thing is, if I would have met him somewhere in public, like Starbucks, I would have plugged it in at Starbucks. I would have brought my Steam Deck with me and plugged it into the monitor to make sure it worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the Switch OLED conversation, basically, I was not planning on buying one, and I went to GameStop to buy a gift for Chloe, and then they had a used Switch OLED with a used copy of Tears of the Kingdom in stock. And so I'm like, this would make for a pretty interesting video. You know, I bought a used Switch OLED, and the video's out now. And, you know, I'm a channel that only has like 3.7 thousand subs, but it got over 1,000 views. And for me, that's like a pretty good viewer to sub ratio. And so the video's got like 30-something likes. And for me, that's a relatively good performing video, other than my wild Steam Deck video that has like 300,000 views. Like, that's probably not going to happen again for a long time. But the thing is, like, the video performed pretty well, and I made an impulse decision. I walked in, I'm like, like I had that, like, do you ever have that feeling when you just kind of want to do something and like you're bored but you don't want to just fuck around with the shit you have? And I'm just like, poor financial decision incoming. I'm gonna buy a Switch OLED. Do I need it? No, but tax return says I could. So,
that's like us with whenever we got caught into the fucking Arcverse. I still don't know how in the world that happened.
Well, that's the thing with the internet, though. Like, unless you really know what you're doing, you have one video that blows up and you start to get some traction, and you keep working
like
until
we have
another video blows up.
Yeah, like we have 190 subs. The end of Ark Survival Evolved has 33,257 total views, and watched for over 1.7 thousand hours. And like that was one of our first couple videos. Like, blows my mind.
Was it one of the first joystick bites or junk bites or whatever we call
the junk bites? Yeah, it was one of the first ones, and it's still getting served to people, and people are still like raising hate. Like, they have since come back on this, and they have since changed their policies, and you should be ashamed of it. I'm like, dude, look at the pinned comment. We updated the video since then. Just leave it alone. Like, we put it there so that you could see, like, hey, they've updated. This is the newest statement.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, that's something that's kind of annoying when posting news or like talking about topics and stuff that are like time sensitive, because information changes, right?
Yeah.
And so right now people are talking a lot of shit about the Sony's Project Q. Can you shut up, Toby? What is it?
Toby.
My dog is going crazy right now. For no reason. You are fine. You have been well taken care of.
She wants to be on the podcast, Ryan.
She's just yelling.
Show her to the listeners.
Okay, hold on. What would be the best way? Okay, just Toby, what are you doing, dude? Here's a dog.
What the dog doing, though?
What's your dog doing? Hi, Toby. You just want attention. She just wants attention.
Yeah.
You say something? Can I go woo?
Toby.
Say something, Toby. Okay. Okay, get off. But yeah. So I bought a Switch OLED. I was not planning on it, and it was just kind of an impulse buy. And the GameStop said that they like. I was talking to this lady for quite a while, and she's like, yeah, we take pride in cleaning our consoles. I'm like, do you guys have jobs just like specifically for cleaning consoles? That would be kind of fun. And she's like, well, no, unless you maybe worked in a warehouse, like console
if you went to Grapevine.
Yeah, but console refurbishing isn't really like something that they do in the stores as like a sole job.
Yeah, you have to go to Grapevine to the warehouse to do that.
Yeah. But yeah, so I got the Switch OLED and I took it home, and it was used. It was open box, and the thing is, like, who knows how long the previous owner had it before trading it in to GameStop, right? But they said that they took really, really strong pride in cleaning up the consoles, making sure everything works, and I also got a screen protector with it because the Switch dock is a little scratchy boy sometimes. And the lady working there actually like applied it for me, which was very nice because I suck at applying screen protectors. Every single time there's like goddamn bubbles left over when I do it. It drives me crazy.
So just to show you how much she cares about her customer experience, you're not supposed to do that for like, because the client or whoever bought it can come back and be like, oh, well, this person did this and I want a refund. I want a new one. Yeah. So,
Well, I'm not that kind of person.
well, I
But,
know, but I'm just saying,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
the fact that she
But
offered to
so
do it.
yeah, and I was very thankful for it. I mentioned that in my video. But the problem is the Joy-Cons that I got with the Switch did this thing where they would just randomly stop. Like, it wasn't drift. They would just disconnect from the console for like 3 seconds and then catch back up, and then they would work again. And they wouldn't even do the thing where you have to press the two like shoulder buttons and press A to reconfigure them. Like, they would just stop working outright. And
Weird.
I'm playing through Tears of the Kingdom, and they stopped in the middle of a boss fight, and because of it, I died because I was trying to move out of the way, and the joysticks just stopped working. And at that point, I'm like, I'm gonna go back to that GameStop. So I called, and I'm like, hey, you know, I bought that used Switch OLED, and the joysticks are acting up, and they just replaced them, like at no additional cost. They just gave me a new pair of Joy-Cons.
So I have a question about Tears of the Kingdom. When it comes to Tears of the Kingdom, is it as much of a religious experience as some people are saying it is?
So I'm not a Nintendo fanboy. The only Nintendo devices I've ever owned are a DSi, which was used in a gift for like a birthday when I was like 8 or something like that.
I forgot about the DSi with the camera built in.
I used what was it called, PictoChat or whatever, all the time. And then Flipnote Studio, the original place for memes before memes were able to be posted. Flipnote Studio memes were top tier because like people would just draw things. Like I remember it's raining tacos all out from the sky. Like that was one of the videos, and it was just a bunch of like stick figure drawings of like people bobbing in a car, or like original memes, and you had to draw them too. So like when somebody made like a really good thing in Flipnote Studio, like it was good because you had to draw them. You couldn't just take pictures of stuff or like use the internet. Like I don't even think the DSi had internet on it, but I would play it a lot because that was like one of my first consoles, and I would like bring it on road trips and stuff. And then I had a Wii, but everybody had a Wii. So like all of my neighbors had Wiis. All of my friends, like the Wii just came out and absolutely dominated everything. And Wii Sports was so much fun. It was great watching my dad throw Wii remotes at the TV and almost put a hole in the wall.
It's because the Wii is the future of gaming.
Is that what they said?
No, it's one of that's something one of Amber's exes used to say. Like during their whole, like during multiple dates, they
Wii is the future of gaming.
He would talk about is the Wii and how it was going to change the landscape of gaming forever.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
And they did really good with the Wii, but then the Wii U came out and everybody was confused because nobody knew if it was a console or just a companion for the Wii because the way they marketed it, everybody was just like, what in the hell is this?
I thought it was just an accessory. I thought it was just like an add-on.
Everybody thought it was an accessory, right? But yeah, so Breath of the Wild was like good, but it wasn't amazing. And Tears of the Kingdom takes everything that Breath of the Wild did and improves upon it tenfold to the point where a lot of people are talking about how Breath of the Wild was the tech demo for what Tears of the Kingdom is. And as somebody who's played both games, Tears of the Kingdom is better, but like it's not a religious video game experience. But I think people are saying that just because the quality of AAA games released as of late is so piss poor that this seems like a 10 out of 10 in comparison to Gollum and Redfall and Jedi Survivor when that game first launched, and it's inexcusable PC problems. Like,
yeah, speaking of which, Jason Schreier, now working with Bloomberg, did a deep dive expose as to why Redfall failed as hard as it did.
Nobody wanted to work on it.
So none of the original Arcane Austin people were still there because they didn't want to work on a multiplayer title.
They all left. The Prey team left because they did not want to do Redfall.
Up until just recently, it was a microtransaction live service hellhole.
Mm-hmm.
And then Microsoft was extremely hands off since they purchased this. Since they purchased ZeniMax. They had been hands off with all existing projects. They were like, we'll let you do what you were doing before. And then that coupled with a few other things, it explains a lot, man. It really does. But it's a really interesting read. I'd really recommend looking into it. Jason Schreier's always had like good contacts within that world. Mm-hmm. Like he's a very credible reporter.
Source.
Yeah.
and people trust him to tell stories that would kind of get them in trouble. But he's got good journalist integrity, and he doesn't. I don't think he's the kind of guy who would rat somebody out into the industry or whatever. So I didn't read the article, but I watched a video synopsis of the article, and like nobody on that Prey team wanted to work on Redfall.
Yeah.
Right? But like the thing with Tears of the Kingdom is like Nintendo was very enthusiastic about the game, and like it's a good game, and it's an open world, but it doesn't feel bland and boring like other open worlds like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I have tried to get through that game. I just can't. It is too big. There is such thing as a game being too big. It's too open, too much content.
See, I have that problem with The Witcher 3.
See, but The Witcher 3, unlike Assassin's Creed Valhalla, has a compelling narrative.
Yeah. Well, see, like open worlds, my biggest thing with open worlds, like there has to be constant conflict in a way. Like Days Gone, loved that fucking game. Okay. Everywhere you went, there were zombies, there were hordes, there was this to clear out. There was always something to do.
Mm-hmm.
Death Stranding, same thing. You go, you deliver it, you get, even though it's open world, you can definitely go and explore. You have to, whenever you get somewhere, you can pick up a new package to go somewhere else. Ghost Recon Wildlands, same thing. There's always a new region to take down. There's always these little encounters that you can find throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Red Dead. But like with The Witcher, I felt like it was so open from the beginning where you had to find this village. It's like, okay, well, where do I go? So you go to a village and then it's like, okay, find this thing. Where do I go? Okay, I found that. Find this thing. And it's like, okay, I'm losing interest. Like, and I don't need to have my handheld. I know it seems like I'm sounding like I need my handheld, but it like with me not having as much time to just engross myself in as many video games as I want to nowadays, it kind of kills the drive to go back and play it.
Yeah. Well, so the thing with The Witcher 3 is that that's kind of the point, because Geralt he's like a detective in a sense, so he has to like understand his environment and he has to put the pieces together, and that's kind of the point of his character, right?
Yeah,
it's
and
not
I get
like
that.
Yeah, but I can understand why it's off-putting. And something that I heard online recently that really hit the mark with open world games is that if it feels like your open world is just a loading screen between locations, then your open world game should not have been open world. If it feels like you're just getting on a horse and traveling to the next destination with nothing interesting happening in between story point A and story point B, don't make your game open world. But
and see, that's
if
what
there's
a lot of
stuff
people
to do and stuff to get distracted by, or interesting things to find, or side content that motivates you to go exploring, like in Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, if you want to get more stamina or more hearts, you have to clear out shrines. But the shrines aren't marked on your map. You got to find them. And the best way to find them is to get high ground. But the best way to get high ground is with more stamina. So like you want to upgrade your stamina first so you can get up high to find the rest of the shrines. And like it's encouraged exploration. Like, could you beat the game with 3 hearts and 1 stamina circle? Yeah, if you're like really, really, really good at it. But most enemies, like at the maybe like 2/4 of the way through, maybe even like after the beginning of the game on the starter island, most enemies will do more than 3 hearts of damage. So if you only have 3 hearts, if you get hit once, you die.
Yeah, and see, I may sound hypocritical, but like Elden Ring, one of my favorite games of recent years. Once again, it's completely open world.
Mm-hmm.
You doesn't tell you where to go. You just explore, find bosses, do this, do that. But for some reason, I was engrossed in the game. But I think the main reason is because I actually had people to play it with. With The Witcher or with Legend of Zelda, it's single player. So you have to make your own fun in between those little things to keep you engrossed. While with Elden Ring, you beat a boss, it kicks your partner out. You summon him again, you continue. You know? And on PC, they make mods that doesn't kick your party member out. It just keeps them with you. So it's like this big open world, RPG. Like it's great. But I think that's what kept me engrossed there, because I have somebody else that I can talk to and keep myself
Yeah.
engrossed in it.
But then also, the world of Elden Ring is just, I think, substantially more immersive than the world of
100%. Yeah.
And it's not like The Witcher is a bad game. I really enjoyed my time with The Witcher 3, but it's one of those games that you just kind of have to take the time to play. But that's one of those that's worth it. And I would argue that Tears of the Kingdom, if you have a Switch, is also worth it. But like, the problem is with Nintendo is that I think they're just extraordinarily stubborn, and they do not want their games to come out on other platforms. But I feel like there is a much greater vision that could have been unveiled with Tears of the Kingdom if it wasn't just on the Switch.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's like, it's so outdated at this point, and they just need to do something new.
But that's that whole Japanese business model, right? Because you look at did you hear the story behind what the hell is his name? Have you played it's a Yakuza spinoff, Judgment, I think it is.
I've never played. I know what the Yakuza games are, but I've never played any of them. I gotta go soon, by the way.
Yeah. I'll wrap this up. But basically, there was a Yakuza spinoff. I know I have it on my shelf. Maybe I lent it to my brother. I might have lent it to my brother. But basically, the main character is a private eye. But he's modeled and voiced by a famous Japanese actor or model. Whenever the reason they didn't originally want that game on PC is because they thought gamers would mod him in weird situations that would destroy his credibility and image. Anytime he's in a magazine, they have to blur his face out. Like the amount of like things that they go through to not show, or maybe not show is the wrong thing, but to have control over IPs or preconceived IPs, it's
they already don't have. The thing is, the Switch, you can already emulate Tears of the Kingdom. You could have emulated the game 2 weeks before it even went live. So my counter argument to that is that they can't stop emulation. So instead of having players like required to emulate their games, they should just release their games on PC. Because like, imagine if Nintendo had their own launcher on PC, where that's the only place you could buy and play Nintendo games on PC, but you have the opportunity to use the hardware of your computer that's substantially more powerful than a Switch to play Tears of the Kingdom at a 4K 144 hertz. And that would be amazing, because the game feels, it's fun to play, but the 30 hertz, like 30 FPS, is just so not good in 2023. It's time to move on from 720p 30, Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely purchase all of my Nintendo games on PC if that was the case.
And Nintendo likes money, right? Every company likes money. That's free money. If Nintendo just brought their backlog to PC, imagine how much money they would make. Yeah. And they could even list all of their old games for $60, and people would still buy them for $60.
Pretty much. But yeah, this is that.
Do it.
This is that game, Judgment.
Okay.
I think it's now on PC, but this guy, the actor, is his whole agency is weird with how they handle their actors and models. But yeah, we can go ahead and wrap it.
Okay. But I just want to close on something like developers. It's okay for your games not to be open world. It is okay. And I also think that video games shouldn't have a set price. I think video game price should be varied to the scale of the game, right? Like GTA 6, Red Dead Redemption 2, $60, $70, sure. But you could also just make a really solid 8 to 10 hour campaign and sell it for $40. Sure, it doesn't have much replay value, and sure, once the story's told, there's not much else to do in the game. But like, why does that have to be $70? Why can't that just be 40? And I would argue you would probably sell a lot more of that game if it is only 40, right? because you might have somebody who's in a position where they want to play a new game. They can't afford to buy a $60 or $70 game, but $40 is where their budget caps off, and then they see your game and they pick it up and play it.
Pretty much.
Like I feel like game prices should be reflective of how much quality and content there is in the game, right?
But then again, you would have those who say art is subjective, and they might think that their game is worth 70, but no one else does. So it's like,
but then nobody buys it, and then they have to lower the price because nobody's buying it, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to not sell the product. Like Lord of the Ring Gollum, you put a picture in the group chat, and it's already on sale, like in an open box.
yeah, it's on sale for $30 at some Walmarts now.
Yeah, like that game launched at 60 though, right? Not 70?
50.
50? Okay, see, that's cool. We should, even though the game sucks, we should embrace games not all just being a blanket price. Because, like, if you have $70 to spend, would you rather buy GTA 6 or Call of Duty 25, right? Which one has more replay value? Which one will last further? GTA 6.
Sad thing is, GTA 6 will probably come out at the same time as Call of Duty 25, if we're being completely honest. But
what COD are we on now? Modern Warfare 2.
Oh, I'm not
how many
counting.
Call of Duty games have there been? There have been 19.
So yeah, probably so.
Well, the first one, so they've come out almost annually, and the first one was 2003.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But that sounds about right. But yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up. As always, my name is Caleb Boudreaux. I'm the editor-in-chief of AnExtraordinaryLife.online. And as always, we have Ryan here.
Hi, I'm Ryan, or Release Radar on YouTube.
And in total, we are... Oh, goodness. Okay. Whew. Fix the camera. But yeah.
We are the Technical Difficulties Podcast. Thank you for watching.
I still had it configured to 3 people, so it went to the third person camera down here, and I was like, shit. But yeah, hope to see you soon. And make sure to like and subscribe. Yeah. Anyway, peace. But yeah, this dude. So we got a comment on the what's it called, the Echo Point Nova video.
Yeah.
I swear it says bros casually just making the most fun shooters of the past 5 years. Commenter's name